Hello everyone, this is your 5 and welcome to the Global Massacre Toy Review. And today's we're looking at the 2007 release by Hasbro of the Marvel Legends action figure review. And today's action figure review, we're looking at the Wave 3 of the Build-A-Figure Queen Brood series. Figure number 5, we'll be looking at Hydra Soldier. Now I finally gotten this in a scalper toy shop near my area for 70 ringgit. Yes, it's still a bit pricey now. And they finally sell this as a single figure unit rather than in a whole set, because previously in the early this year and last few years ago they packed for the Queen Brood series as a whole set. Yes, the entire wave, a whole set, and you have to buy the entire thing just to get the figures that you want. So I don't like the rest of the figures, I just wanted to get my Hydra Soldier, so I was quite lucky enough to stumble upon this when they sell this as a single unit. Now let's talk about the front part packaging. Now the front part packaging is quite nice with a lot of nice little artworks of, well, based on the comics itself of the Hydra Soldiers. Here you got the classic look of the Hydra Soldier here, and then the modern look as well, and also the classic look and also the modern look. Now and the front part packaging itself, you've got the figure. You notice the figure's mouth is open because this is a open mouth variant for the Hydra Soldier. The other version will be the closed mouth variant. And next to him is the front left leg of the Queen Brood figure itself, the build your own figure part. And at the back is the instruction manual. Now at the back of the packaging, you've got a nice little write up on the top part here. You got a nice little image of the Hydra Soldier. Now the funny thing about this image itself on this figure, if I brought it closer, if you notice that the hands here, both hands actually have some finger articulation. However, for the packaging itself, the figure's hands are, well, they don't have any joints at all for any articulation. So that's kind of interesting to know that. Now here is their statistics. Height 6 foot to average, weight 190 pounds to average, real name various, identity secret, alias various, affiliation to AIM, powers, there are a whole lot of them. Now here is the rest of the wave itself. Number 1 will be Marvel Gold that comes with the torso of the Brood Queen. Number 2 will be Cyclops that comes with the head. Number 3 will be the Extreme movie version of Colossus that comes with a front right leg. And number 4 will be the Black Knight that comes with the right legs. And number 5 will be the Hydra Soldier, of course, that comes with a front left leg. Number 6 is Captain America with the left legs. Number 7 is Danger that comes with wings. And finally, number 8 will be Bucky that comes with the tail. Now, without further ado, I already babbled long enough. Let's open up this packaging so we can molest the toy. Be right back. And we're back after removing the figure and the rest of the stuff out from packaging. Now inside the packaging comes an instruction manual on how to assemble the Brood Queen. And at the bottom here is the checklist for the rest of the figures. Now let's take a look at the front left leg of the Brood Queen here. It's actually quite nicely done with the sculpt. Very nicely done with the details of the sculpt here. You notice there's a lot of wrinkles, a lot of bumps there. Very nicely done. But the paint job is alright. They use one particular paint job. That will be the shading part. And the rest of the colors itself is just, well, based on the plastic color of the entire front left leg here. But it's nicely done with the shading here. It looks quite nice. Now for the articulation, it comes with a shoulder joint that is actually on a hinge joint that goes inwards and outwards like that. There's no articulation on the elbow, there's no articulation on, well, the front leg here. But this entire, I would call this a tail for simplistic sake, is actually bendable, because inside they use a bendy wire. Now on the bottom section of the tail itself, you notice there's a lot of holes to let the plastic to breathe through the moment you bend the wire. But I don't suggest you bending the wire way too often, because bending wires, when bent too often, it will tend to stress the wire and eventually it will break the wire, so you have to be careful. I really like the amount of details they put on this. It's a pity there's not a lot of articulation for the front left leg, but very nicely done. Now let's take a look at the Hydra Soldier's accessories. It comes with a pistol, and the pistol is utterly very nicely gorgeous thing, very nicely detailed stuff. You can see here, even you got this on the side here, very nicely done. Too bad the entire thing is just pure plastic color, and the only thing that's painted is at the side of the handle itself, which is painted in black. But overall the entire thing is very nicely done. However, you can see some cuts of the plastic, so there's a bit of black going on there. Then we have an assault rifle, which is also very nicely done with a scope on top. Very nice, very detailed stuff. Got Hydra logo there. Now, like the pistol itself, the entire thing is not painted except for the side of the handles, which is painted in black, and the Hydra logo, which is painted in gold. Now both weapons is very nice. The problem is the figure's hands, the gap is a bit too widened up, so he can still hold them but a bit loose. So you may have to apply the hot water technique to enclose the gaps a bit closer so he can hold the weapons properly. What I'm also disappointed is that you cannot store the pistol despite he has a gun holster. Ironically enough, the gun holster itself, especially on this section here, is hollowed, which is kind of funny when you look at it. And for the assault rifle, I really wish they would add a strap so he can hang the weapon, just like how DC Universe Classics Vigilante would have a strap there so he can hang the weapon. Well, I'm being a little bit picky, but they're still okay. The weapons are still alright. This is not painted. Next, we'll take a look at the Hydra Soldier's paint job. Now, the majority of the dark green paint job, you notice that there is no paint job at all. I really wish they actually would give the figure more paint job on the dark green there, because the plastic cuts is quite obvious. You can see the plastic cuts on the shoulder there, plastic cuts on the back, so it's not really well done though. I really wish they painted it, but seeing that Hasbro is being cheap on the paint job, what can we do? Now the yellow paint job, some parts are quite bright in colors, other parts seem a bit faded off, especially on the straps here. So the edge of the pouch, straps here, especially on the bottom section here, starts to fade off, and the yellow paint job even bled onto the green plastic there. You notice this one starts to fade off a little bit. On the side of the holster itself is also starting to fade off, even the bottom of the strap as well. So the yellow paint job is not very well done, and the H on the back of the head is not deep enough for the colors. It seems a bit of green starts to show up. The goggles on the eyes, one side of the goggle itself, you can still see a bit of green going on there. It's not really a nice paint job on the yellow paint job there. However, you got a nice little paint job on the ammunition shells, the H logo, the Hydra logo on the belt buckle. But at the back here, whatever this thing is, it could be a grenade. The bronze color also bled onto the skirt itself, the green skirt. So that's not really great paint job now. Quality control issues. Now for the face paint job, the flesh tone skin there, the side of the face itself, a bit of green starts to show up. And there's no shading at all on the face, which is kind of disappointing if you compare to the back of the packaging itself, especially on the back of the packaging there. The flesh tone skin was way more properly painted at the back of the packaging, but if you compare it to the actual figure itself, there's not a lot of shading there, just rather bland looking. And then the individual teeth there, despite it's painted and you can see the gaps, the black gaps to show the individual teeth, it's not really well done. At least you can see the inside of the mouth there is all red. The wrist, however, and the glove is also nicely painted. It's painted in a metallic silver, a dull metallic silver. The boots is nicely done though, but you can see some of the silver paint job, or the dull metallic silver paint job, some of that splat onto the boots itself, so really show the quality control issues here. The entire bottom section of the boots is pure plastic, but the strap here is actually painted in silver. Now let's take a look at the figure's sculpt. The sculpt itself, it looks very nice actually, but not a lot of details, especially on the, it looks kind of weird for the mouth itself. I know it's an open mouth variant, and I would like the Hydra Soldier to scream out Hydra when he charges against an enemy, but there's not a lot of details there. There's no gum showing on the teeth itself, unlike the rest of the toy-based version of the Marvel Legends. There's no tongue as well, and the sculpt is actually alright. It's not that great, it's just alright. I'm just a bit disappointed on the gun holster here that you can't actually store any pistol. The boots is very nicely done. I like the boots, and the wrists there, the glove section, and the entire belt there, very nicely done. The head is a bit bland. Now let's take a look at the figure's articulation. Now the neck joint here is on a hinge and a ball joint, so you can actually pivot the head down like so, up a little bit, and then turn 60 degrees. Also here is very nice because you can actually bend it all the way down like so, back a little bit, then there's a waist joint that allows you to turn 60 degrees. Now the shoulder joints here allows you to turn 360 degrees on a ratchet joint, and then you can lift the arms all the way up like so. There is no upper bicep swivel. Now there's a elbow joint, but there's no double jointed elbow joint here, so you can bend this far, bend a little bit back, and turn 360 degrees. Both arms, the elbow joint here is very limited as it only bends this far. I really wish that Hasbro actually would cut more on the bottom section here at the upper bicep, so it will allow him to bend the elbow a bit further up, so he can hold the assault rifle with two hands. He can still hold it, but you have to fiddle around with it. Now there is a swivel wrist joint here, but there's no hinge joint for you to pivot up and down on the wrist joint, and there's no finger articulation. Now the hip joints here is on a ball joint, and the pegs is aligned in this manner, so you have to twist around on the ball joint itself for him to, well, move the legs, and it's a bit hindered by the skirt itself, but it's still alright. Comes with a swivel tie that turns 360 degrees. Leg joint can move backwards this far, forward that far. Now it doesn't come with a double jointed knee, so that's also quite disappointing, but it bends this far. I really wish they would give more cuts at the, well, at the back of the lower thigh here, so it can bend even further. Now there is no swivel shin, and you can actually bend the knee joint to turn 360 degrees, and that's your swivel there. Ankle joint here can go upwards and downwards, and then it can go side to side. Now overall the figure is actually not bad. If you like to troop build a lot of Hydra units, these guys are actually not bad, despite that some articulation is missing because this is a Hasbro version, and the paint quality is not really that great. Despite that, there's a lot of bleeding going on. Even the face paint job, it looks pretty bland, and I'm a bit disappointed that you can't actually store his weapons. That's a bit disappointing, especially on the pistol where you have a big holster on the side where you can't store it. And I really wish they put more paint job on the dark green uniform there, so you can cover the cuts, the plastic cuts on the side of the upper bicep here. But overall the figure looks alright. It looks very nice for troop building purposes, to have a whole bunch of Hydra soldiers, and in front of them, leading them, will be Baron Von Strucker or the Red Skull. So these guys are not bad for troop building, but quality wise, Hasbro quality control department is really shoddy. So if I'm gonna give a rating for this figure, I would say he's not bad. He would be above average. I would give it a 6 out of 10. There's a lot of quality control issues with the paint issues, and a lot of the paint job is not applied onto, and the face looks a bit weird, and he can't hold his weapons properly. He can't store his weapons as well, and there's a lot of missing articulation. So yes, 6 out of 10 for the Hydra Soldier. So I thank you everyone for watching this video. I'm Lunacy05 and I'm signing off.